For this first session, what I'm planning is I will explain you about the biological neuron and then how this biological neuron is converted to an artificial neural network. And then we will see the disadvantages of artificial neural network, where we go into CNN, and we will look into the different layers of CNN. And along with that, we also see different activation function, loss function optimization, and how this learning is actually happening in CNN. So if you look at the slide, you can see this is a single neuron, single cell, where we have different parts of this neuron like dendrites, soma, axons, and this inspired us to create an artificial neural network. And with the help of these dendrites, the incoming signals from different neurons are passed to this neuron, and then with the help of activation, with the help of this, where here the weighted average is calculated, and then activation is happening. And based on this activation, the output will be passed through this axon to the other to the axon terminals, where we can pass the information to other neurons. So here we have different shapes of neurons. So normally we have neurons can have different shapes, and all these shapes are very important because the shape of the neuron will determine the actual functionality of the neuron. Even though the shape is different, the structure of all the neurons will be same. So here, if you look at this slide, you can see dendroids are nothing but a tree-like structure. It is from the Latin name called a tree. Dendroids receives the input from other neurons, and these dendroids process this information, and then it is passed to the cell body, where the cell body will do some activation. The basic purpose of a cell body is to make proteins and energy to run the cell. Similarly, in an artificial neural network, what we do is with this weighted sum, which is passed to an activation function, it will trigger the output, which means it may pass the output to the next neuron, or it will hold there. So the axon is nothing but a long constant diameter which sends electrical signals called the potential action potentials over long distance. So at the end of the axons, there is called a synaptic terminals, and these synaptic terminals are almost touching the dendrites of other neurons. So this synapses release a special chemicals called a neurotransmitter to communicate with other neurons. So this inspired us for creating a perceptron, and later on we use this. We combine this a single perceptron for a multi-level network. So you can see this slide here. Inputs from different dendroids are added with weights, and then summation is taken, and then it is passed to an activation function, and the output of this activation function is passed to other dendroids. So this is a typical perceptron. So with the help of this perceptron, we can combine this single perceptron together to form a multi-layer perceptron. So where each and every hidden layers, so the input is passed to these hidden layers, where the prediction happens at the output layer, and then at the output layer we are calculating the loss, and based on the loss we are back propagating the we are following a back propagation where actual weight is updated. So when actually this learning stops is whenever we reach a global minima. So the important disadvantage of this artificial neural network is here we are not doing any feature extraction. The feature extraction is done separately, and after the feature extraction, the input will be given to this artificial neural network. That is the main disadvantage of this multi-layer artificial neural network. So as the depth increases, we can increase the depth of this neural network by adding more hidden layers. And this type of network is used for classification as well as regression problems. So as we already discussed, in artificial neural network, there is no feature extraction. which means we need to do this feature extraction by different method or by different methodology. And then finally, after extracting the features, we need to input the data to this artificial neural network. That is the drawback of this artificial neural network. Whereas in CNN, what we are going to do is we don't need to extract the features, but the network will automatically extract the features by using these convolution layers, and then which is flattened, and this flattened feature extracted features will be passed through this artificial neural network. So this artificial neural network will do some classification, and then finally it will give some probability, and based on the probability we can predict whether it belongs to one particular class or not, and so on. So if you look at this screen, you can see it has three parts, which is the feature extraction part, and then it has a classification part, and then it has a probability distribution part. So the important application of CNN is there are some important advantages of applications of CNN. The most important application is image classification. For example, suppose if you are giving images to this network, the network will learn the features like the features of a cat, the feature of a dog, and so on. And then finally, it is given to the artificial neural network, where the artificial neural network will identify whether that particular input, whatever you are giving, whether it is a dog or cat. So another type of application is not only identifying or classifying the image, but also the location where exactly the object is present. And this location is referred as localization, and it is referred by a bounding box. Another important application is object detection. Suppose in our image, we may have more than one object. So we can identify each and every object, and we can give a bounding box to these objects. And we can also give some different colors to this bounding box so that we can clearly identify the different objects available in a particular image. But important thing here is it will not tell us about the shape of the object. For example, the dog may have some shape, the cat may have some shape, and duck may have some shape. It is not. It is just giving a bounding box, but it will not say about the shape or structure of this particular object. And next type of application is object segmentation, or else instance segmentation. Here we can see the different objects partitioned into image. The different object segmentation means it is the task of partitioning an image based on the object present and their semantic importance. So here, if you have an image and if you have different objects inside this image, and these objects can be clearly identified by using this, not only by this bounding box, but clearly it will identify the border of these particular objects. Next type of application is image style transfer. In image style transfer, we have two types of images, the content images and the style images. And this technique is where the content mirror image is imposed on a style image, so that we will get an output image with a combination of this content image as well as the style image. Another thing is image colorization, where the black and white images can be converted to color, where in this in this image colorization, what happens, the semantic of the color and the tone of the semantic of the color is produced based on the tone. Next type of application is image reconstruction. So suppose if we have a corrupted image, this corrupted image can be given to the network so that it will reconstruct the corrupted image, and then it will produce an restored output image. Another type of application is image super resolution. In image super resolution, we are converting the low resolution images to a super resolution image. So another type of application is image synthesis, where we can generate different images or new images from an existing old images. So these are the important applications we were using by using convolution neural networks. So normally, CNN works better with images. So if you consider an image, if it is a black and white image or if it is a grayscale image, then the image will be having some dimension like, for example, say 500 cross 400. Then you may have some 2 lakhs pixels. So pixel is nothing but represents the color of a particular point. Okay. So here, each pixel will be having, in a grayscale image, each pixel will be having a number between 0 to 255. And the number of channels in a grayscale image is only one. Number of channel in the sense it is only a two-dimensional, it is in the form of a two-dimensional array. Okay. So whereas in color image, the color image is a combination of 3 channels, red, green, and blue. So in each channel, you will be having a number from each pixel. In each pixel of each channel will be having a number from 0 to 255. And all these combinations are combined together to form a color image. For example, if you look at this picture at the bottom of this slide, you can see the pixel value at the bottom is 127 for red channel and 255 for green channel and 0 for the blue channel. So if you combine these, you will get, so if you combine these pixel values of this particular RBG, you will get 127, 255 and 0. So with the help of this RBG values of each pixel, we can compute or extract the features information from these pixels. So the important challenges in images are semantic gap. For example, suppose the computer may recognize the black pixel as a white pixel. For example, a computer may recognize the black pixel and a white pixel, but it will not understand whether these black or white pixels belongs to the same object. So that is the problem of semantic gap. And another challenge is, for example, if you take a image, for example, if you are considering a cat and if you move the camera around the cat and assume that the cat is not moving, then if you take a particular portion of a cat, particular part of a cat, then you can see the pixel value will changes around when we move the camera around the cat. So this is a viewpoint variation. This is also a challenge while dealing with images. Another thing is, depending upon the light conditions, the picture intensity may change. For example, if you can see the cat, different cats, but the intensity of the light varies. So when the intensity of the light varies, the illumination varies, what happens, the pixel value will changes. So deformation, for example, suppose if the structure of the cat, maybe in the image you can see the structure is different in all the small images, but altogether everything is a cat, right? But in all the cases, what happens, the pixel value will change, and this type of challenge is what we call as deformation. So another type of challenge is we may not see the image, we may not see the object present in the image as a whole. For example, only the portion of the object will be seen to us, and this type of so with this portion of this image, we need to find what exactly is the object present in that image. And this type of challenge is what we call as occlusion. Another thing is background clutter, which means sometimes what happens, the object in the image will be similar to the background. So in that case, we need to identify correctly the object present in this particular image. So that is also a challenge for us. Another thing is intra-class variation. So in intra-class variation, you may have cats, but all these cats belongs to having different colors and different shapes. And with this type of challenges, we need to predict the cat correctly. If you are giving a cat as an input, you need to correctly predict the cat. So these are some important challenges while we're dealing with images. So layers in CNN. So as we already discussed, CNN or convolution neural network is very good with images. So in convolution neural network, we have three parts. The main purpose of convolution neural network is to extract the features from the image, and then these extracted features is given as an input to the fully connected artificial neural network. And then from this, we are going to predict whether the image belongs to a particular object or not. So this convolution neural network, the first part of this CNN, in this particular convolution neural network, the first part or the CNN is having some layers, and these layers consist of convolution layer, pooling layer, and fully connected dense layer, as we discussed. So how these features are extracted? So here, these features are extracted based on the neighboring pixels. So here, if you look at this one-dimensional array, you can see, suppose if you want to identify the first feature, then you need to ask yourself one question: what are the neighbors that we need to consider? And here in this case, we are considering some 7 neighbors. So these 7 neighbors, with the help of these 7 neighbors, we are extracting the features to a single pixel. And this is done with the help of this formula. So here, this weight is multiplied with this particular pixel value of this neighboring 7 pixels, and then we are getting these features. So this is what we call as convolution. So this is happening in one-dimensional array. So what happens if you are dealing with a two-dimensional array? If you are dealing with two-dimensional array, normally we have a kernel, and the kernel is of size maybe here in this case it is 2 cross 2, and we have an input image of size 3 cross 3. So here what happens, this kernel will slide over this image in the input image, and then it will produce this output. So this operation is what we call as convolution. So consider this as a, even though it is a color image, consider this as a grayscale image. So in a grayscale image, you have only one channel. So the pixel values of this image consider as A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, and L. And the kernel value, we are taking a 2 cross 2 kernel, and the value of this kernel and the pixel value of this kernel is W, X, Y, and Z. So here what happens, it is considering only the 4 neighbors. It is only considering these 4 neighbors. And we are calculating the weighted average of these 4 neighbors to form a pixel in the convolved image. So this image is what we call as, after this convolution operation, you will get a image, and that image is what we call as activation map. So this is how exactly happening. So here we are taking 3 cross 3 filter or kernel. And this 3x3 filter is placed on top of this image. So here we are multiplying the each pixel value of filter with each pixel value of these images. So you will get 1 into 1 plus, you are multiplying this second pixel value with the second pixel of this image. Again 1 into 1 plus, you are multiplying the third pixel value with the third pixel value of the image, 1 into 1. And then what happens? Likewise, we are multiplying these pixel values of this image with the respective pixel value of these filters. And then we are taking the summation. So finally, you will get a value, and that value will be the convolved pixel value. So this is what we call as activation map. So for better understanding, I will show you one video. So I will show you one file so that it will be easy for you to understand. So you can see here the weight or the filter or the kernel is placed on the image where it slides towards the right, from left to right and from top to bottom, resulting in an activation map. So normally, while doing this operation, the activation map size will be reduced. So this is in case of two-dimensional convolution. Again, the same thing is explained here for a better understanding. You have this two. How you get this two? You are multiplying this image value. You are multiplying the value of the pixel of the image with this corresponding filter value, and then this process is continued from left to right and top to bottom so that you will get a convolution or convolved image or activation map. So this point is what we call as area of interest. This point is what we call as area of interest or as pixel of interest. Okay. So when you place a kernel on an image, it will not place like this. It will not place like this. If you place like this, what happens? Then the value here will be 0. So you will get a wrong answer. So what happens? You are placing on the top left, exactly like how it is fitted here. And now you will get a activation map, the first pixel of this activation map. So normally what happens here, your size is reduced. So the output of this activation map will be only, even though it is 7x7, the output here will be only 5x5. So likewise, we will find the pixel value of a convolved or activation map. Here, the kernel is moved from left to right. So first it is moving, it is taking this particular portion and then calculating the average weighted sum. And then what happened, the pixel, and then the kernel is moving towards the right by one slide. So again, it is taking the second pixel of the convolved image. So it happens from top to bottom. So finally, you will get a convolved or activation map like this. So what we have discussed till now is how this convolution operation or else convolution operation is done in a two-dimensional image. Whereas we are dealing with a three-dimensional image. So in a three-dimensional image, we have red, green, and blue channels. So here the red channel, green channel, and blue channel is having its own pixels. So by applying a convolution operation by using one filter, you will get a convolved image or an activation map of size 2D. So how it is happening? Look at this particular. So here, this represents red channel. This represents green, and this represents blue channel. So here, the pixels of red channel will be different from pixels of green channel and will be different from pixels of blue channel. So here, in a 3D convolution operation, if we take one filter, even though the channel is 3, then automatically what happens? We are taking 3 channels. Sorry, we are taking 3 filters. So in a 3D convolution operation, we are taking, if you are saying I am doing an operation, convolution operation by using one filter, then actually this one filter represents 3 filters. So this filter will do convolution operation with this red channel, and this filter will do convolution operation with green channel, and this filter will do convolution operation with blue channel. So finally what we get is, if you consider this particular portion, because we are using a 3x3 filter, also we are using a convolution operation here by using a 3x3 filter. Also we are using a convolution operation here with a 3x3 filter. So here it will produce one output here. After some convolution operation, it will produce one output, and then here also it will produce one output. Here also it will produce one output, and this output belongs to channel red, and this output belongs to channel blue, and this output belongs to channel green. So by adding all these output, we will get the first pixel of the convolved image. So even though we are dealing with 3 channels and 3 filters for convolution operation for these 3 channels, the output will be of size 2D, which means the output activation activation map or feature map will be of size 2 dimension. And how this value is received? This value is computed by taking this average, weighted average from red, blue as well as green channel and adding them together. So in general, if the input is 3D, and if we are dealing with only one filters, then automatically this one filter will be having a depth of size 3. So generally, as we increase the convolution layer, so in each and every convolution layer, the input will be either an image, if it is in the first convolution layer. If it is in second convolution layer, the output will be the activation map. So that depth of the activation map will be equivalent to the depth of this filter. So in other words, the filter will take the depth as the depth of this input image or input convolution map. But finally, you are only producing a 2-dimensional. So normally this is done by sliding vertically and horizontally along the depth. So here in this case, you can see the input image is color. So we have three channels, red, green, and blue. Here we are taking two filters. This is filter 1 and this is filter 2. So as I already discussed, the depth of the filter will automatically change to the depth of this input image. So here the depth is 3. So automatically the depth will change to 3. So while doing convolution operation, the first filter will calculate this weighted sum pixel by pixel. Similarly, the second filter will calculate the weighted sum pixel by pixel. Similarly, the third filter will calculate the weighted sum pixel by pixel, and then all these are added together. All these are added together. For example, suppose you have an input image and the input image is, the pixel value is 1, assume like this. And the depth of this image is 3. The height and width is also 3. And again, you are taking a two filter. And suppose the value of this filter is 1. So this filter depth will also be 3 because the input image is also having the depth of 3. So now what happens? The first filter is multiplied by this, is performing a convolution operation with this input image. So you will get 1 into 1 plus 1 into 1 plus 1 into 1 plus 1 into 1 for the first convolution value. Similarly, the pixel behind this filter will also do the convolution operation with the second channel of the image. The second filter will do the convolution operation with the second image, second channel of this image. So that will also produce the same thing. For example, here we are taking the pixel value as 1 for all these kernels. So 1 into 1 plus 1 into 1 plus 1 into 1 plus 1 into 1. Similarly, for third channel, also it is 1 into 1 plus 1 into 1 plus 1 into 1 plus 1 into 1. So here you get 4 plus, here you will get 4 plus you will get 4. So 12. So you will get a feature map. After convolution operation, you will get a feature map, and the size of the feature map will be reduced accordingly. But the first pixel will be the combination of all these three channels convolution operation, which is nothing but 12. The first pixel value. So this process will continue when we slide the filters towards the right and towards the bottom. So what happens here? So you will get a convolution, or you will get a activation map of size some m into n, which is always lesser than this size, height and width. Okay. Suppose if you are using another filter, then the same process will happen. So here, when we are applying two filters in an input image for a convolution operation, then the activation map will be having two channels. The output of the activation map will be having two channels. Clear? So this is from this filter, and this is from this filter. The first channel is due to the first filter, the output of this convolution, the output of this convolution layer, convolution operation, or else this activation map is having two channels because we are using two filters, and this is the first channel and this is the second channel. This first channel is computed, or we get the first channel with the help of this filter operation with this image. Similarly, we get this second channel of this activation map with the help of this second filter convolution operation done with this image. So suppose, so this operation will be done in each and every layer. Suppose if you want to increase that, if you want to increase the depth, if you want to increase the depth of the activation map, then you need to use that much amount of filter. For example, suppose if my input image is of size, assume M, and depth is 3. This is my input image. Suppose if I am using one channel, suppose if I am using only one filter, then you will get only one, you will get an activation map with only one channel. Suppose instead of one filter, if I am using two filters, then you will get an activation map with two channels. Suppose if you increase the filter, if you increase the number of filters, suppose if the number of filter is k, then you will have k channels in the output activation map. So this is generally how the input and how the activation map is created with the help of these filters. So normally what happens, the output of convolution operation is what we call as feature or activation map. In the first convolution layer, we are giving the input as an, we are giving the image as an input, and that is, and we are doing some convolution operation by using some filters. So you will get an activation map. So in the next layer, you are giving the activation map as an input. So this activation map is now not having 3 channels, but having k number of channels according to the type of or the number of filters you are using in the first convolution layer. So in general, if the input is having n channels, if the input is having n channels, and if you have m such filters, then each filter will be having, each filter will be having n channels. So this first filter will produce first channel in the activation map or the output feature map. Similarly, the second filter will produce the second channel of this activation map or the output feature map. Similarly, if you increase the number of channel, the output of the activation map or the feature map will increase in channels. So in case if you are using M channel, then you will be having M channels at the output feature map. But here the important thing you need to consider is, if the input is having N channel, then the filter will also be having N channels. even though we are saying it as one filter, then automatically the depth of the filter will be as same as the depth of the input image or feature map, whatever it is. It will change according to the layers. So this is the general formula. So in generally what happens, if your input image is, if the height of the input image is m and the width of the input image is n, and if the number of channels is 3, I am talking about the input, I am talking about the first convolution layer. Okay. So in first convolution layer, this is our input image. So we have a kernel, and the kernel is having a size P and Q, but the depth of the kernel will be same as the depth of the input image, which is 3. So this will produce one activation map. More specifically, it will produce one channel. Suppose if you increase the number of filters, so each and every time the filter, if you increase the number of filters, the depth of the filter will remain same, and the size of the image will also remain same. You can increase the number of filters. You can increase, maybe you can say some 10 filters. So the first filter will perform convolution operation with this image, and it will produce one channel. The second filter will perform convolution operation with this image, and it will produce another channel. And the third filter will do some convolution operation and produce third channel. So here you will be having 10 channels. Totally you will be having 10 channels because we are using 10 filters. But what about the size of the height and width of this particular convolution map? This is what we call as map, feature map or activation map. So here the size will be less than n and less than m. Because we already see, if we are taking a 3x3 filter, if you are taking a 3x3 filter, suppose if you are taking, suppose if the size of the image is 3 and you are taking a 2x2 filter, then this is the first pixel of the convolution map, and this is the second pixel of the convolution map, and this is the third pixel of the convolution map, and this is the fourth pixel of the convolution map. So you will get a convolution map of size 2x2. Clear? So in general, what happens? We have a formula to calculate the size of the output feature map. So if our suppose if our input is M cross N, and if the channel is C, and if we are using one filter, and if the size of the filter is F cross F, and the depth of the filter is C, then the output or the feature map will contain M minus F divided by S plus 1. The height and the width of the feature map will be this. So in our example, I told you we are taking 3 cross 3 image, and you are taking a filter of 2 cross 2. So it will produce 3 minus 2 divided by 1. Here S is nothing but the strides, whether you are moving the pixel 1 at a time or 2 at a time. So here I am moving only 1 pixel at a time. So I am taking the stride value as 1. So 3 minus 2 plus 1, which will give you 2. So the height as well as the width of this output feature map of a particular channel will be 2 cross 2. And if you increase the number of filters, then that much amount of channels will be created in the output layer, or else in the feature map. That is what explained here. H minus F divided by S plus 1 is the height. W minus F divided by S plus 1 is the width, and M is the number of channels. Sorry, number of filters you are using. Number of filters. So you are using M filters. In this diagram, it is clear you are using M filters. Okay. So this will be the output. And this output feature map will be given as an input to other convolution layers. So before giving that, we will do activation function. The activation function is applied to this particular activation map. The main purpose of using activation function is to introduce the non-linearity in the network. So this is what we have already discussed. If it is a color image, you will get only one channel, and if the number of filters increases, that much amount of channel will be there. If it is a color image, you will be having RBG. So the kernel size or the filter size will be the same as this depth of this image. So if you are using 5 filters, then you will get a 5 convolution. You will get a activation map with 5 channels. So normally, what is kernel? So kernel is nothing but feature extractor. We can say it as feature extractor. So you have an image, for example, you have a kernel, and when you are applying this kernel to this image in a convolution operation, depending upon the value you are using in this kernel, the output will change. Output in the sense the activation map will change. So here I am using one type of filter, and this filter is used to sharpen the image. So in order to sharpen the image, we are taking the value of the kernel as 0, -1, 0, -1, 5, -1, 0, -1, and 0. So you can take different kernels with different numbers. So this kernel is used to extract the features from the image. For example, if you look at this if you look at this particular kernel, you can see it has all the values as 1 except the middle value as -8. So when you are doing convolution operation, it will detect only the edges. It will detect only the edges. So this particular kernel is used to detect edges. So when we increase in a convolution operation, when we increase the number of kernels, each and every kernel will detect some features from this image. In this case, it is detecting the edges. In some other case, it may identify the shapes. For example, if you are applying a if your image is a cat or a dog, then what happens? One filter will look for only the features that belongs to eyes. Another kernel will look only the features that belongs to nose. Another feature will look only the feature belongs to ears, and so on. So that is why we are increasing the number of kernels. So we are not dealing with only one kernels, but we are dealing with n number of kernels. So when you are in practical session, you can see we give the kernel size as 64, 32, which means we are learning 64 different features. We are learning 32 different features. Maybe in first layer, we may give the number of filters as 64, which means in the first layer, we are learning 64 different features. Maybe in second layer, we are giving 32 filters. The number of filters in the second layer consider as 32. In that case, what happened? From this first layer, you get some feature map, and from that feature map, you are extracting even the inner or deeper features. So this is another type of filter which is used to blur the image. So we can apply different kernels, and we can extract different features from the image. So this kernel or this filter is a learning parameter. Learning parameter in the sense, this is what we call as weights. All these values, we call it as weights. So these weights, initially while we are doing this convolution operation for the first time, during a feed forward pass, these weights of this kernel will be assigned randomly. So after computing or predicting the image, if there is any loss, then during back propagation, what happens? These weights will be updated. So this is very important thing you need to know. So in forward pass, you will predict, and from the prediction, you will calculate the loss, and in backward pass, you will update the weight. Update weight means you are updating the weights, or you are updating the values of the kernel. If you are using 32 kernel, then you are updating the value of 32 kernels. If you are using 64 kernel, then you are updating the values of 64 kernels. So this process will be continued until finally these weights will get saturated, and then you will fix the weights. So after fixing the weights, what happened? The important features will be extracted in the first layer, and then in the second layer, features from the features will be extracted, and this can be continued till the depth. Maybe if you can increase the depth of the network, means it will keep on go. You can extract a feature from this feature, you can extract features from the feature in the next layer, and in the next layer you can extract features from the features, and so on. It can continue, and finally you will come into one stage where you will get only one pixel, or maybe you will get some few little pixel values, and with the help of these few pixel values, this will be forwarded, this will be given as an input to the artificial neural network, and then which is used for prediction. So normally we have some activation. So as I told you, after this convolution operation, what happens? After this convolution operation, we will apply the activation map to an activation function. We will apply activation function to this. So the main purpose of activation function is to introduce the non-linearity. So one of the important or mostly widely used activation function is ReLU, rectified linear unit. So here, whatever be the input, if the input is less than 0, then it will be considered as, if it is less than or equal to 0, it is considered as 0. If it is greater than 0, then it is considered to be that value. For example, suppose if this is the activation map, if this is the activation map, which is formed by using convolution operation, then applying ReLU on top of it will give you the output like this. So if it is a negative value, it will be turned as 0. The pixel value will be turned into 0. And if it is a positive value, it will be turned into, it will be considered as it is. So 2, 3, 2 will be considered as it is, whereas here -2, that will be treated as 0. So in general, you will be having n-channel activation map, and applying ReLU, the negative value will be turned to 0, whereas the positive value will be retained as it is. So this 3, this -2, all these negative values will be treated as 0. And this is applied to all the channels of this, activation map. And this is the output of the, first layer, first convolution layer. And we can do this process repeatedly n number of times. So some of the activation functions are linear function, step function, sigmoid function, hyperbolic, ReLU, Ricci-Leroux, Swiss function. We have some different activation functions, and this is the equations. So we need these equations because during backward propagation, we need to find the derivative of this function. We need to find the derivative of this function in order to update the weight. So we will discuss that. We will discuss, maybe if time permits, we will discuss some of the activation function, how it is derived, and how back propagation is done with the help of a particular activation function. All we will do. Another important thing is strides. So in a convolution layer, while doing a convolution operation, you can move this filter towards the right. You can move these filters towards the right. Here the filter size is 1x1, and you are moving, here in this case, you are moving the filter 2 strides. which means first you are dealing with this particular portion of the image, and then next time you are dealing with this portion of image. So you are moving two strides. Okay, so stride is how far the filter moves in each step along one direction. So in previous example, while we are discussing convolution operation, we took the stride value as 1 because we are moving only 1 pixel at a time. Whereas here in this example, we are moving 2 pixels at a time. So now if you are using stride value as 2, then of course what happens, the size of the activation map, that to the width and height of the activation map will reduce. For example, suppose if you consider this example, first it will consider this particular patch, and then next it will consider this particular patch, and if you move 2 strides from here, then the patch will go out of focus, so you are not calculating this particular part. Again, you are moving 2 strides downwards, where you will calculate the patch here, and then you are moving 2 patch towards the right, you are calculating this patch. So the outcome of this stride operation, if the dimension is 6 cross 6, after this particular convolution operation, if you are taking the stride as 2, then you will get a result convolution or activation map as 2 cross 2. And this is done with a, you can also calculate by using this formula. The formula is M, suppose here the height is h and width is w, then h, if you want to calculate the height of the convolved or feature map, then h minus the size of the filter divided by the strides plus 1. So here we know the size is 6, the height of the image is 6, input image is 6, and the feature size and the filter size is 3, and the number of strides is 2. So here 6 minus 3, you will get 3 divided by 2. So here you are taking the floor value, okay. So 3 plus 2, 3 divided by 2 plus 1, which will give you 2. So your convolved or your feature map or activation map will give you an output of 2 cross 2. So this is how the strides works. So one important problem with the stride is, suppose if the stride is due to this increase in stride values, what happens? The convolved feature or the activation map size will be reduced. So due to this, what happens? You cannot increase the depth of the network, because in the first layer you will get 3 cross 3. Maybe if you are using another convolution layer, then if you are using 3 cross 3 filter, you will get only 1 pixel, right? So you cannot go further, or else you cannot create a deep neural network. So that is the problem with this stride. If you choose a higher stride value, that is the problem. Another important problem is in convolution layer. See here we are fixing this particular. We are taking this at this patch, right? We are taking this patch while convolution operation. By taking this patch, what happens? The weighted average is calculated, but this particular pixel, the pixel on the topmost corner, that will involve in the convolution operation only once. Similarly, here also it is involving only once. Maybe here it is involving two, here it is involving one. Here it is, this pixel is involving only once in the convolution operation. So the pixel at the edges of the image is involved in the convolution operation only once. Suppose what happen if the important feature is available in this particular pixel? If in that case, we are losing the information. So in order to solve that, we are going for another important operation called padding. So the main important problem with convolution layer is due to this stride, what happened? We cannot create a deep neural network. And also important features at the edges will be missed. We lost the information because it is participating only once in the convolution operation, the edges. So in order to avoid that problem, we are going for padding. So what is padding? Padding is nothing but you are adding layers of zeros. So this is our original image. This is our original image. In order to retain the information, valuable information at the edges, and in order to increase the depth of the convolution neural network, what we are doing is we are adding padding layers. We are adding paddings. Padding means adding zeros around the images, adding zeros around the images. So now, when we are doing convolution operation, we will take this patch. Now what happens, this particular pixel in the original image, that will participate more times in the convolution operation. So in that way, we can ensure we are capturing the features or the valuable features from the edges. Also, what happens while we are padding zeros across this image, we can also increase the depth of the network. We can also increase the depth of the network. How? Because the original image size will be retained after the convolution operation. I'll show you with an example. See here. So this is our original image. We are adding zeros, means we are adding padding to these images. So this 5x5 original image will now become 7x7. When we add padding, this 5x5 original image will convert to 7x7. And when we apply a kernel for convolution operation, the original 5x5 size will be retained. For example, you have an image and the size of the image is 5x5. This is 5x5. This is your original image, your input. And you have a convolution operation with this 3x3 filters. 3x3 filter. So here what happens? Before convolution operation, we are adding layers of zeros. We are adding layers of zeros. So here 0 will be added. So now the image size will be converted to 7x7. And when we are applying a padding, when we are applying a convolution operation with these 3x3 filters, the first patch will be here. So finally, you will get an output of, after convolution operation, you will get the output, and the size of the output convolved map or activation map will be 5x5. So in general, if the input image size is M cross M cross C, when we are applying F cross C convolution, then you will get, and suppose if the padding is 1, here we are adding only one layer of zeros, that is why it is called as 1. And if the stride is 1, now you will get the output feature map. The size of the output feature map will be M plus 2P minus F divided by S plus 1. So this is the height and width of this feature map when we are applying padding. So here in this case, 5 plus 2 minus 3 divided by 1 plus 1 will give you 4 plus 1, which is 5. So your output image will be of size 5x5. So here we have two types of padding. So same here we have two types of padding, same as well as valid. So valid means no padding. Valid means no padding. So when you are giving an input image, after convolution operation with kernel, the size will be reduced. The size of the activation map will be reduced if you are using valid padding. Suppose if you are using same padding, then what happens? Layers of zeros will be added. Layers of zeros will be added, and then the input size of the image will be retained. The input size of the image will be retained. If it is M cross M means, then the output height and width of the activation map will also be M cross N. This is done with the help of adding layers of zeros, and that is what we call as same padding. Valid padding means we are not adding any layers of zero. Okay. So after this convolution layer, so in a convolution layer, we have convolution operation. and followed by a convolution operation, we will perform activation function. So this convolution operation can be done by adding padding. We can use valid padding. We can use the same padding. We can also change the stride length. Stride length in the sense how many pixels you want to move. You can change the stride length. And then you will perform a convolution operation. And then after this convolution operation, you will perform an activation function on the activation map. So the next thing is, this is what we call as convolution layer, operations in the convolution layer. And in the next, so this convolution layer can be followed by another type of layer called the pooling layer. So in pooling layer, what we do is, again, we will use a filter, but this filter is not learnable. It is not a learnable filter. It is not a learnable filter. It is just a filter to reduce the dimension of this activation map. Okay. So after this convolution operation, you have two feature map. This is the first channel, and this is the second channel. So this is our feature map. Okay. Because here we are using two filters to produce this feature map. So in pooling operations, what we do is we use a filter and we use strides. So here a pooling operation involves like a convolution operation. We are using a filter which will slide over the channels of activation map and generated by the convolution layer. So the main purpose is to summarize the features of the activation map. For example, suppose if you have an activation map like this, and you have some 1, 2, 3, and 4. So this patch will be having similar property. Right. So instead of giving this as a whole to the next convolution layer, we are reducing this dimension, and that is done with the help of this pooling. So normally activation map dimension is H, W, and C. And after pooling, you will get dimension as this. So in pooling, we are using a filter, and we are moving this filter according to the stride length, resulting in reducing the dimensionality of the feature map. Okay, so here you are taking a 2x2 feature map, and you are applying a 2x2 filter, and the stride and the length of the filter is stride length is 2. So what happens? This patch will give you one value. This patch will give you another value, which means the second pixel, and this 2x2 will give you third pixel value, and this 2x2 will give you fourth pixel value. So here this 4x4 is now reduced to 2x2. So the value what we need to take while reducing the dimensionality in a pooling operation depends. So we have two types of pooling, either a max pool or an average pool. In a max pool, suppose here this is an activation map. Here we are using 2x2 filter, and the stride length is equal to 2. Okay, so first what happens? The filter will be placed on this particular patch, and in max pooling, what happens? It will search for the maximum value. Here the maximum value is 20. So this maximum value will be retained in this particular pixel value in this particular pixel. And here also, and then the stride will be moved 2 steps or 2 pixels. Again, it will search for the maximum value here, and it will pick the maximum value, and that maximum value is treated as a second pixel value. So this process will continue from left to right, top to bottom, left to right, and then top, and then bottom. It will travel bottom, left to right, and so on. So this process will continue. So this will reduce the dimensionality of the activation map. Now, the main purpose here is all these pixel values will be related to each other. Suppose if all these 4 pixel values are focusing on one particular feature, so that feature we are taking as a maximum value, and then we are replacing that in order to reduce the dimensionality. Another type of pooling is average pooling. Here we are taking the average value, we are calculating the sum, and then we are taking the average value, and this average value will be replaced here. 12 plus 20 plus 8 plus 12, which will give you 52. And when you divide by 4, you will get an average value of 13, and that 13 will be replaced or taken as a first value of the output feature, output value of the first pixel of the feature map. So in general, we can use this formula h minus f plus 1 divided. So this is, we can replace that with h minus f divided by s plus 1. So here in this case, we are using here the value of h is 4, and the filter size is 2, and the stride size, the length of the stride is 2. So you will get 4 minus 2, 2 by 2, 1, 1 plus 1, which is nothing but 2. So you will get a 2 cross 2 output activation map. So another type of pooling is also available, which is called as global pooling. So in global pooling, what happens? You are taking the filter size as the size of the activation map. So if the activation map is 5 cross 5, then the filter size will also be 5 cross 5. So here what happens when you are dealing, so you are dealing the whole patch, whole picture, whole channel, and then it will produce only 1 pixel. So this is what we call as global pooling. Okay. So if you have depth as 64, then you will get 1 pixel with the depth value of 64. Here the dimension will be 1 cross 1 into 64. So with this concept, if you look at this CNN architecture, it will be very clear for you. You are giving an input. You are giving an input, and then you are performing. See here, blue represents convolution operation. Violet represents max pool. Green represents dense, and yellow represents flatten. So here, before that, I need to tell one more concept. So you have a convolution layer, and then you have ReLU activation function. Again, you will give this output to the another convolution layer. Again, you will be having ReLU. You can include pooling in between. And this process will continue. Finally, you will get an activation map like this. You will get an activation map like this. For example, consider the activation map at the end of this convolution layer is like this, 3 cross 3. So this is the final activation map at the nth convolution layer, assume like that. So after this, what we do is flattening, which means you have 3 channels, and in each channel you have 3 cross 3 dimensions. You have 3 width and 3 height dimensions channel. Okay, so you will take this first channel. You will take the first channel, and the size of the first channel is 3 cross 3. You will take the second channel, and the size of the second channel is also 3 cross 3. And the third channel, it is also 3 cross 3. So this first channel will be flattened like this. 3 cross 3 means you will be having 9 neurons. This is first channel, pixel of the first channel. And then next what you will take the second channel and you will repeat the same process. You will represent each and every pixel, that is 9 pixel, as a neuron. Similarly, you will take third channel, and this 9 neurons and this 9 pixel will be considered as a neuron. So finally, what happened after this flattening, you will be having 3 cross 3 cross 3 neurons, which is flattened into a single dimension. So this is first neuron, this is second neuron, third neuron, fourth neuron, and so on. This is the last neuron, 3 cross 3 cross 3. This is the last neuron, if the channel depth is 3. So this process is what we call as flattening. And after this will be given as an input to the artificial neural network. So we know that artificial neural network is nothing but a combination of different hidden layers. And the output of this activation function, if we are doing a 3-class classification function, then here the output layer will be having 3 neurons, where the first neuron, for example, suppose if we want to identify cat, dog, and donkey, then the first neuron in the output layer represents cat, the second layer represents dog, the second neuron in the output layer represents dog, and the third neuron in the output layer represents donkey. So it will give some value. Okay, and this value will be forwarded, or will be passed to a softmax function. Since it is a multi-class classification, we use a softmax activation function, and so it will give a probability. So the sum of this probability will be 1. We will discuss that when we are deriving a mathematical equation. Okay. So from this we will calculate the loss, and with this loss, our ultimate aim is to reduce the loss. So this loss will be optimized by backpropagating the loss by taking derivatives in the layers, and finally we will update the weights. So this process will continue. So here, if you look in general, if you look at this is the activation function in general, if you look at this is the CNN architecture, where blue represents convolution layer, max pool represents violet represents max pool, and yellow represents flattened layer, and green represents a dense layer. So you can increase the depth of the convolution layer by adding different convolution layers. You can also include max pool in between. It all depends upon the experiments. Okay, and then finally you are flattening, and then finally you are giving this flattened input. This flattened input is what we call as features. So this feature is what we are extracting by this particular process, and this feature is given to an artificial neural network, and this artificial neural network is fully connected dense network, and at the end of this you are attaining some probability, and then you are calculating the loss. From loss you are back propagating to reduce the weight, or else you modify the weight. So this process is a typical process. So as in general, if you are giving an input image, in the first convolution layer you will extract some higher level features. And in the next convolution layer, the second convolution layer, you will extract features from this particular feature map. And in third convolution layer, you will extract the features from this particular feature map. So you can extend the depth. Finally, you will represent the features of the dog with some minimum features, maybe some 9 features. With the help of these 9 features, you can able to predict the dog. So I think we can wind up this first session. I want you to calculate this. I will give you one activity, like you take this picture. Here you have some 227 and 227 dimensions of this input image is 227, where we are applying 11x11 filters, and you have some this is input layer, this is convolution layer, max pool layer, and convolution layer, and finally you tell me finally you tell me how many number of parameters, learnable parameters, are available in this particular network. So we can take a 10 minutes break, and we can start by 11:40.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. So all the participants kindly take 10 to 15 minutes break. You are all are joined to 11:40, right? Thank you, sir.